Alright, we are gonna sharpen up this axe, and this is probably the hardest part of wood carving for me, because just getting a nice even bevel on each side is difficult. It is not easy, especially with the sharpening puck that I use. So normally what I'll use while I'm carving, axing out a spoon while I'm outside and don't have the whetstone is a sharpening puck. It literally is just whetstone or just sharpening stone. It's a puck and you use it and you just kind of go along the edge of the blade like that. Actually, I have something here that I can simulate it with. Here we are. So basically, you take it and you go along the edge and you do that, but it's really hard to get a nice even bevel on it and get it nice and sharp that way. So for me at least, most people who probably use it are much more experienced, but I'm not the best at using it. I have accidentally put a secondary bevel on here before, and that's what I try not to do. Secondary bevel is going to be where, if you can see this, I don't know if you can, but basically if you look, there's one kind of slope, one bevel. That slope is the bevel. So I've accidentally done it before where there's another tiny bevel at a sharper angle at the very tip of the blade, or at the very edge of the blade before. That is not the best. So I like to usually do this on the whetstone when I can. So try and get a little extra water on there. I've soaked this for 10 to 15 minutes. I've actually soaked it for longer than that. You only need to soak it for 10 to 15 minutes, but I did longer. There we go. I'm just gonna dump more water on it. And yeah, you just kind of see what we do. We line up the edge, just kind of tilt this. Well, actually I like to draw backwards, because with something that's sharp, if I get too much of a tilt on there, the blade will actually cut into the whetstone. The whetstone is not that hard. It's not as hard as the blade, so the blade will actually, kind of shave off a part of the whetstone if I do that. So I like to drag backwards. Some people will do circles. I'll occasionally do circles, but not usually, just because, again, I need to go more slow and steady in order to get a nice even bevel. If I try and go too fast, do circles, usually I wind up shaving off a part of the whetstone. So just take it, tilt up until that edge meets the whetstone, and drag back. And usually, as you sharpen it more, as you get it finer honed down, usually what I'll do is I'll do 5 to 3 strokes on either side. What I do in the beginning is I usually do 10, maybe 12 strokes on each side, just to get it, really worn down. Big thing about this also is the pressure that you put on the blade. So if you are sharpening and you're really bearing down on this side, and then you go to the other side and you just very lightly scrape it over, you're going to get obviously a lot more metal worn away on one side than the other, and it's going to be an uneven bevel. So try and keep consistent pressure and just nice and slow. I'm actually going to take this rag off because there's a little rubber kind of foot on this. The table gets wet this way, but that's okay. It is what it is. Now I'll clean it off later because it doesn't actually get dirty. Okay. Alright, there we are. think that's good on the rough side. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this, wipe off the whetstone, sorry about that, flip it so you can see there is 400 grit and 1000 grit. Obviously 1000 grit is going to be a little bit finer sharpening, and so I'm going to do that one now. Give that some good passes on there. Water. Always have to make sure that there's a lot of water on there, or at least in my opinion it helps a lot. So now for me, I cut with right hand, so when I'm coming in, it is this side. When I'm coming down on wood, it's this side that's biting in. In other words, if this is at a sharper angle than this side will not bite it. This will glance off. So keep that in mind. What I like to do is I like to do this side first. I like to put this side on the whetstone, sharpening puck, whatever. I like to do that first, and then this side. And usually what that will do is if there's any kind of burr at all on the metal, it means that the burr is on this side. If the burr is on this side, what I've found is just that it doesn't cut as well. It'll do the same thing almost as if this is at not as sharp an angle, and it'll glance off. It won't cut in as easily. So I like to do this side second or last. Sometimes I'll even, do 2 extra strokes on this one and then just 1 quick stroke on that side to take off any little burr. But yeah, that's what I like to do. So side that you use the hand of, it's usually the side that I would recommend doing last. Yeah, just so you know. tell you this is the best test. I've been told it's not the best test. For me, it served fine, but basically, you just take and you try and shave with it. Ooh. So, obviously no shaving. I'll try it on the other side. Sometimes the sides are, you know, ooh, I can feel that wanting to shave. So, I think that what I need to do is strop it. So give me a second, let me go get my strop, and I'll be right back. All right, so this is my strop. It's nothing pretty, nothing complicated. I'm gonna clean that up real quick. There we go, look at that. It does have sandpaper on the other side, so rag underneath is gonna be necessary. But all it is it's metal polishing compound on leather on a flat piece of wood. And then I carved this away so that if I need to, I can do, you know, something like this where sometimes I do that on the hook knife that I have, but if I'm doing the axe or a larger blade, usually I like to just take it the same as the whetstone, and I usually do have to hold it because obviously it'll slide. Now you will notice that there's not a ton of metal polishing compound on here, but that's okay because it actually doesn't need much. Yeah, I can see that it does look like I'm getting a secondary bevel on here because the very edge, you're not going to be able to see it well, but the very edge, maybe you can, is getting quite shiny while the rest of this edge is not. So we're gonna have to see, may have to go and file this a little bit so that I get a nice even bevel again. I'll make another video on that, on how to kind of re-bevel your blade with a file, specifically on a hatchet or axe head. Alright, I think I'll do this. There we go. That'll be easier. Getting to a point where I think we can try the shaving again. Ooh, that's also another reason to have a rag down. It's a reason to use two hands because this thing's heavy. And stropping doesn't take much metal off. Oh, yeah, you can see right there, that bevel is getting quite shiny, and so that means that bevel is still good. I've been doing a better job on that one, but not on the one that's facing up right now. I'll try and leave that so you can see it. But sometimes you can kind of keep that blade right on the edge where there's more of the metal polishing compound, and that'll help it to pick up a little bit more polish there and actually get stropped a little bit better. So, a good way to not have to redo the metal polish all the time. Like I said, it actually doesn't last for a while. So let's see. Alright, that's looking pretty good on that side. Because I don't want any little burrs, even tiny ones, I'm just going to take it and... Now I will say that even without metal polishing compound, if your blade's pretty sharp, then just stropping it on straight leather can also do it a bit of a favor to help get rid of small burrs and stuff like that. So first thing we're going to do is test the cutting edge of the side that I actually chop into the wood with. So let's see. Oh, and look at that, it's shaven. So that lower part is not actually doing that well, like this bottom part of the blade, which I will say I find a lot is that you see the top part is just razor sharp. It's just, well, it's making my arm very smooth. I probably don't want to cut all that much hair off. The other side, we will give that a shot. We'll see how even this sharpening is. Oh yeah, look at that. The bottom of that is even cutting nice, and the top is cutting about as nice as the other side is. So that's good. That's good. Obviously, I will say this tends to get a little bit duller. This portion of the blade tends to get duller than the higher up portion, the top portion, because I cut more with that portion. This I use more for fine work, so I'm not cutting in nearly as much. I'm usually not hitting nearly as hard with it, which I unfortunately have done a lot of dry wood for axing out stuff, which dry wood is harder on the axe. It dulls the blade quicker. It does not cut nearly as easily, so that one is my bad. But what I want to do is I just want to take this lower half and I want to kind of drag through, and I want to do that quite a few times actually. And because stropping is not really so much metal coming off, I definitely don't want to take it back to the rougher whetstone. I'm just going to go kind of quick because this won't create a new bevel. This will just kind of help wear away a little bit at the edge currently created. You can see that if I push down too hard, actually, I don't know if you can see that line, but the corner of this blade will push into the strop, which is not what I want. Okay, so now we'll do the other side. We'll do that quite a few times. And then I'll do just one good pass on that side to make sure any burrs are gone. And let's see how that does now. How is that? Oh, look at that. It's not as smooth as the top, but usually I have a lot of trouble getting it to cut as well on that top half. That's not from axing or anything like that. I did some landscaping and, well, the hair is from axe, but the red spots are from landscaping. I was doing some weed eating and got some stuff on me that just made me itchy and still a little bit red. I also scratched it some because I was itchy. Woke up scratching my arm one night, so I was very itchy. But that's that. Now we have a nice sharp axe head ready to go and process some more pecan wood that I just picked up from my brother's house. And it's beautiful. One quick tip, maintaining your axe head. If you are going to be working with wet wood, which I am now, so I need to start doing this again, or if you're going to be leaving your axe head for a while, take an oil of some kind. I use WD-40. That's what I like. You use axe oil, something like that. I find WD-40 to be the best for the price. Not a food oil or anything like that, nothing that will polymerize. But you just coat the blade a little bit with it and it'll keep it from rusting. And that is essential for keeping a nice, healthy blade, because even a tiny rust spot on the blade can cause a little pit and cause it to not cut as well as if you had a nice, perfect blade. Or if it starts rusting all along the edge, which is the most likely option because that's where you're cutting into wet wood, then you have to sit there and you have to hone it and get it back down to where there's no rust. You get all the pitting out and it's just a pain. So a little bit of WD-40 goes a long way on there. Thank you for joining me.